From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is Ag Day.
Coming up on Ag Day.
It's unbelievably tragic. This is a very rare incident.
Wild hogs kill a woman. Now hear what's being done to prevent it from happening again. Markets move after the president talks about China.
The China trade deal is dependent on one thing. Do I want to pick it?
And it's the ongoing lack of harvest progress that is upsetting many producers right now.
I've never left a crop in the field.
Ag Day, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Snow and rain are continuing to put harvest even further behind. Corn harvest now at its second slowest pace in 25 years. Right now, USDA reporting 89% of the corn crop is harvested in the 18 states surveyed. Usually by now, we're wrapping things up with 98% cut. Soybeans faring a little better with 96% harvested, the 5-year average 99%. And looking at this map, you can see the problem areas when it comes to corn. Michigan and Wisconsin at 66%, South Dakota at 80%. But look at North Dakota, only 36% of the corn is harvested there. Right now, there is more corn still standing in North Dakota fields than there has been at this time since at least 2000. Reporter Faith Hatton of AgDay affiliate KMOT gives us a look at what's still in the ground.
Ronald Beam has been farming for 55 years. This year's wheat crop marks a first for him as a producer.
I've never left a crop in the field.
Beam has been forced to abandon 1,000 acres of his wheat. He only had 6 days of decent weather to combine before moisture reduced the quality of the crop and it lost half its value.
We had a crop and we lost it. We didn't get it in the bin and we didn't get it to the bank.
Beam says he will try to salvage his uncut wheat for feed, and if he can't do that, he will burn these acres next spring. Beam's sunflower and corn crops are also still standing. This corn would normally have been harvested by December 1st. It could still be standing by next spring if it isn't hit with significant amounts of snow and wind.
There hasn't been a year that I had to harvest corn or sunflowers in the spring, but it might be the year. In all my years of farming, I've never had to do it.
Any corn that has been harvested is being dried down at elevators.
Pretty much everything that's coming in is getting dried twice.
Kayla Burkhart, the general manager of Dakota Midland Grain, says that only 300,000 bushels of corn have been brought to her elevator and fans are running round the clock to dry it down.
If we can keep it staffed, we'll run it 24/7. Most of the times we'll shut it off for a few hours at night and start up again in the morning.
Despite all of the challenges the 2019 crop has presented to producers, Beam says he remains optimistic.
You just do the best you can with what you've got, and next year's another year. You got to be optimistic that things will get better.
Beam says he hasn't harvested a single acre of his sunflower crop. He's already filed for crop insurance and if necessary will also try to harvest his flowers in the spring. In Ward County, I'm Faith Hatton reporting for your news leader.
Thanks, Faith. And right now, it's hard to harvest any kind of feed in parts of North America hit by snow. A massive storm dropped nearly 22 inches of snow in portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin. And not just snow, but ice. Look at what Andy Pastor of Southwest Ontario captured on camera. Ice covering his equipment there. He also gave us a look at his corn.
And heck, this corn's standing a lot better than I thought it would. Look at all that ice. Excellent.
And now it's the Northeast getting hit with its first major snowstorm of the season. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen, she joins us with more. Cindy.
Yeah, Clinton, we've already seen a fair amount of snow, especially up into the far eastern parts of New England into Maine. So this is the past 24 hours. But as we add the next 24 hours on there, we're going to see that there's going to be more than that, especially over towards western New York and western Pennsylvania. We're really going to see that snow starting to pile up and then moving through to the east through much of New York as well. So a fair amount of snow as we get into the next 24 to 36 hours. Folks will be digging out for sure. And despite the frozen conditions, some farmers are doing some harvesting. Dan Allred of Cordian, Iowa, sharing this video with us. Dan saying a freeze overnight helped a bit so they could get out in the combine and run for a while the next morning. I'll have more on your forecast coming right up.
Stocks slumping on Tuesday after President Trump warned the trade war with China could go beyond next year's election. The president making those comments while in the UK for a NATO summit. Mr. Trump saying he has no deadline for making a deal.
By the way, I'm doing very well in a deal with China if I want to make it. If I want to make it. I don't think it's if they want to make it. It's if I want to make it. And we'll see what happens.
The president has threatened to impose more tariffs on China on December 15th if there is no deal. Bloomberg reporting China has used up nearly all of its waivers to buy U.S. soybeans tariff-free. Now, China buyers had a quota of about 10 million metric tons. Despite the ups and downs in the trade negotiations with China, the Ag Barometer appears to be turning around, rising in November for the second month in a row. The survey done by Purdue and the CME Group. The index there climbing to 153. That's 17 points higher than in October, and it ties with July for the highest barometer reading of the year. Now, researchers saying the rise is driven by improvements in farmers' perceptions of both current economic conditions and their belief that conditions will improve in the future. Now, producers in November are seeming much more confident the trade dispute with China will be settled soon, that at any time since researchers started asking producers about it in the survey, with 57% now saying they expect a resolution to that trade dispute soon. The Dairy Margin Coverage Program is reporting milk feed margins for the month of October is at the highest margin ever reported. It puts the price at $10.88 per hundredweight. Now, it was based on the prices you see there on your screen. In 2018, the Farm Bill authorized the new Dairy Margin Coverage Program, a voluntary risk management program for dairy producers. Acres of cultivated hemp in the U.S. surged this year, so much so that there may now be a glut. Production surged to more than 285,000 acres this year. That's up from 78,000 in 2018. The increased cultivation has contributed to a decline in prices. Now, the Wall Street Journal is reporting wholesale prices for plant matter used in CBD production fell as much as 53% between April and October. And with so many numbers at play right now, when it comes to hemp, it's best to arm yourself with the information before you start growing it. Now, Farm Journal is hosting another hemp college later this month, this time in Indianapolis on Monday, December 16th. You can find details at agweb.com/events. The news isn't all bad when it comes to prices right now. We'll explore that coming up in today's analysis. And a rare but deadly feral pig attack. Hear what's being done to try and prevent it from happening again. Are you making more money this year? Despite the weather and tariff wars, USDA forecasting a bigger increase in net farm income for 2019. USDA reporting net farm income at $92.5 billion. That's $7 billion higher than last year. Net cash farm income is up nearly 13%. USDA saying the increases are due to a combination of lower production expenses as well as increases in government payments and farm-related income. Researchers say those factors are expected to more than offset the forecast decline in cash receipts from commodity sales. Wheat's really been on a rally as of late, but that came to an end on Tuesday. More on what's driving that market from the CME.
For the most part, we've got the row crops wanting to be higher while wheat just a little bit lower. Wheat having, more than anything else, really just a bit of a technical correction after days of strength and a nice breakout on the chart to the upside. So just a little bit of profit-taking pullback from what I can tell. I don't really see any big changes in fundamentals. We know that Argentina has cut their crop. Australia has cut their crop. The Black Sea area has continued dryness concerns. Maybe a little bit of relief coming for them, but overall they are really far behind. They need rain. So we actually have production issues in maybe 2 or 3 major producers in the world. And we've been saying for years that we're going to need something like that to kind of fix the wheat market. Well, here we are. So, yeah, I think there's more upside potential in the wheat. Keep an eye on that. Hogs, big reversal today after the big down day yesterday, and this is coming despite a lot of negative trade news. So that is, I'd say, a fairly positive thing for the hog market. For the most part, I think we've reached an area of value here for hogs, and we're kind of trying to find a level of comfort there. Whether we're bottoming and getting ready for a move higher or just going to trade sideways, that remains to be seen. But for the most part, it seems like the downside in hogs is really fairly limited at this point. So we'll see. This is Again, Ted Seifert from Zaner Ag Hedge coming to you from the CME floor.
Markets may not be where you like them, but basis has been better as of late. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan picks up the conversation in today's analysis from our studios in Kansas City.
Here now with Matt Bennett of agmarket.net. Matt, there's been several different stories when it comes to basis out there, but what do you feel like the basis is telling us right now?
Basis is saying we want your corn right now, and there's not a huge amount of carry in the market by any means for corn. So those two indicators are telling the producer, hey, market wants your corn right now. So some of the basis levels that we've seen have been nothing short of phenomenal. First of all, very historically good basis for this time of year. Second of all, we're here in free drying. Just in my part of the world, last week, ADM Decatur was given free drying up to 19%. That is not something you typically see unless you're coming into harvest and things are just a little bit tight. I've never seen that before in the middle towards the end of harvest.
So why do you think they're so desperate to get this corn in right now?
I just don't think that they're sourcing the amount of corn they thought they were going to get. In our part of the world, as you know, there were still some pretty good corn yields, but it's very typical for a producer to talk about 40 to 50 bushel less than a year ago on an average yield.
So do you think this speaks to just the corn not being there and yield, or producers wanting to keep their hands on it and not give it up right now?
I think it's probably more the latter than the former. Obviously our crop size is not as big as what it was a year ago, but we're already projecting just under 800 million smaller than a year ago. And so we already know that it's a smaller crop than what it was. We can't forget we started much later. And so I'm not sure that the pipeline ever really got what it wanted. And so bottom line is they're having to continue to push for corn because they're just not originating it like they thought they were going to.
Do you think this continues to play out?
I think that it's probably a little shorter lived at this point. Are we going to see better basis levels? Potentially, but you're getting close to the end of the year, and we all know that there's going to be a lot of corn and soybeans rewarded to the market whenever we get to the first of the year, because there's a lot of bills that's got to be paid. Financial needs are going to triumph over marketing situations sometimes.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. Absolutely. We appreciate it. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on Ag Day.
To contact Matt Bennett at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net. Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
Meteorologist Cindy Clausen taking a look at our root zone moisture map. And Cindy, as we look at this, it's starting to really change over the last few weeks.
Really, and even over the last week, it's changed quite a bit. Let's take a look. The areas that really changed the most are the wetter conditions we've seen in the nation's midsection and in parts of the Southwest, but it got very, very dry in some other areas of the country, and that includes the Pacific Northwest, where we're dealing with really dry conditions there. And then most of the East Coast has really dried out in the last week as well, particularly as it get over towards the mid-Atlantic states. All right, what do we have in store for us as we head through the day today? Well, as we mentioned, we had a lot of snow already with this low pressure system that's moving away, but we have another system that's going to be bringing snow to much of the Northeast as we get into the next 24 hours. A couple other areas to look at, that's going to be the Southwest, where we're going to be seeing some rain and some higher elevation snow there. And the Northwest has a weaker front that's going to be coming through. All right, so as we put this into motion, we'll notice the snow that starts to build into parts of the northeastern states. And we also see that rain and snow that's building into the Southwest, moving into the Four Corners region. Not quite as much moisture in the Pacific Northwest with that system. High pressure keeping the south central United States high and dry and into the southeast as well. Going into the overnight hours, we'll see that front continuing to move into the northeast. We see that low starting to move into the plains states, and we're going to see some rain and snow with that, especially in those higher elevations. And through the day on Thursday, everything just kind of continues to move to the east. We'll see another low that's coming down to the Great Lakes, so watch for some snow there, especially in the eastern half of the Great Lakes, and we'll start to see some of that moisture building in to the plains. All right, so as far as the past 24 hours, really hasn't been a lot except for those basically the corners of the country except for the southeast. The next 24 hours brings a lot more moisture, especially in the southwestern United States and then into the northeast. Now, as far as snowfall is concerned, we are looking at the bulk of that being in the northeast and then with that low pressure system in the southwestern parts of the United States. So temperature wise, we're still not dealing with too bad temperatures. Highs in the 30s in the north, that's not bad. 60s and even some 70s in the south. Overnight we go and we're going to see those lows in the 20s. That's tolerable for this time of the year, and overnight lows in the 40s and even some 50s down south. And then tomorrow we do start to cool it down just a little bit in kind of the northern plains, but most of the other areas aren't looking too bad as far as those temperatures are concerned. You can see that trough in the jet stream in the northeast, a ridge building in the west, but that cutoff low starts to weaken. But watch what happens. We're still looking at a very deep trough coming into the nation's midsection in the early to middle part of next week, bringing some pretty cold air and some stormy weather there. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Congress, Arizona, cooler with showers today and a high of 61 degrees. Council Grove, Kansas, plenty of sunshine for you with a high of 56 degrees. And Fredonia, New York, breezy with snow likely today and a high of 37.
Wild pigs now number in the millions across the U.S. Up next, we'll hear about a rare attack in Texas and what USDA is doing to help.
I will tell you that feral hogs are a problem across the state of Texas. They are definitely a problem in this county. Many of our ranchers and farmers, we try and assist. We actually have hog traps that the sheriff's office owns that we use to assist our farmers and ranchers with the feral hog problem.
Police say feral hogs attacked and killed a woman outside a southeast Texas home where she worked as a caretaker. Christine Rollins cared for an elderly couple at their home in the small town of Anahuac. Investigators say the 84-year-old woman she cared for was waiting for Rollins to arrive. The woman went outside and found the 59-year-old in the front yard between her car and the front door. Now, police say she had a severe head wound and several other injuries consistent with animal bites.
They say it's the 5th documented wild hog attack that ended in a fatality since 1825. So it's definitely rare, but if wild pigs feel like they are threatened or trapped, they can attack, and they are very powerful and very dangerous. So it's also a sign that the wild pig problem is increasing if they're creeping more and more into these suburban and urban areas.
Scheich says the 2018 Farm Bill provides $75 million for feral swine eradication and control pilot programs. That money is already being shipped to states to help with population control. Currently, there are an estimated 6 million wild pigs living in the U.S. In China, pork prices continue to increase. According to Reuters, wholesale pork prices rose more than 1% over the weekend. It's now roughly $2.73 per pound. That's according to data from the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs. Analysts telling Reuters prices may be starting to trend up as consumption rises during winter and the Lunar New Year holiday in late January. Agriculture Ministry officials say there are ample frozen pork inventories, and that will help contain pork prices. A large pork and turkey recall to pass along now. It involves Bluegrass Quality Meats out of Kentucky, the company recalling 121,000 pounds of pork back and ready-to-eat turkey products. It's because of misbranding and undeclared allergens. They were shipped to locations in Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and West Virginia. They were sold under brand names such as Bluegrass Cajun-style turkey breast or Troyer Cajun-style bacon. We have more details on our website, agday.com, and look under news links. Hey guys, has this ever happened to you? You misplaced your wedding ring. Well, one guy did more than that. He lost it. Now a group of guys helped him find that needle in the haystack. Next.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Have you ever lost your wedding ring? What links would you go to find it? Well, one guy got a lot of help in his quest to find his, and it took a team up a 4,000-foot snow-covered mountain in New Hampshire. Bill Jagir of Massachusetts recently lost his gold band on Mount Hancock. When he got back in his car, he noticed the ring was gone. That's when he put out this plea to a Facebook hiking group for help. Tom Gately saw the post, but Gately had his doubts on finding it along the 10-mile loop trail that Jagir hiked. But he was up to the challenge, and so he and a fellow hiker set out to find it with the help of a metal detector. The only clue was Jagir's sense that he had most likely lost it on a lookout while changing his gloves. And guess what? They actually found it.
I had a little bit of hope. I knew it was kind of a long shot, but I thought, you know, if anyone's going to find it, it's some of these crazy hikers. Very nice people. For a complete stranger to go up there with the metal detector was pretty nice of them.
Just leave your ring. A word of advice from one hiker, just leave your ring at home. That's probably good advice. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.